Greetings builders, Daniel here and welcome to my second top 3 budget builds for the Necropolis League. If you wanna try any of those, you can find links for POBs and complete guides in the video description. And if this video helps you, please leave a thumbs up to support the channel. Thank you very much and let's get into it. Let's start this budget selection with the incandescent Righteous Fire Chieftain with the Marauder class. This is probably the easiest way to have such a strong presence. You just need to walk past the enemies and they will melt and explode without even touching you. To visit the pros of this build, I would start with how simple it is. Because of the Chieftain Ascendance, you only need to stack fire resistance to have all elemental resistance. Because of that, you can also easily cap your chaos resistance. Keeping on that topic, also because of the Chieftain Ascendance, you can also easily have 90% resistance to all elements, making you very tanky without much investment. Above all of that, Righteous Fire is a super fun and smooth build to play because you just run and shield charge away from many maps per hour. Now to visit the cons, I'll start saying that this build doesn't have a big single target damage without a lot of investment. But don't worry, you'll be able to kill map bosses easily even on a low budget. This build is an amazing league starter and it's meant as a cheap and fast currency farmer. As for budget, this build is cheap, you can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 70 chaos. To comfortably advance to yellow maps, I recommend investing around 120 chaos, and for easily completing Erratras, you need to invest around 4 divines, mostly in your survivability. Don't forget that on PoEbuilds.net you can find a list with all the equipment that you need to buy for this build, with direct links for examples being sold by other players. You only need 2 mandatory unique items for this build. The first is the Rise of the Phoenix Shield that grants up to 200 life regeneration per second and most important, plus 5% to maximum fire resistance. Next, we also need the Cloak of Flames armor that grants 40% of the physical damage you take to be received as fire damage. This is great because we have 90% fire resistance. For clear speed, I'll give it 10 out of 10. You just need to run through the maps and enemies will die just because of your presence. It's super smooth and one of the best clear speed experience you're going to have on PoE. The boss damage on the other hand is not great. I'll give it only 7 out of 10 because you need a lot of currency to scale single target damage. But as I mentioned before, this is meant as a map farmer and you can kill map bosses easily on a low budget. For the survivability, I'll give it 9 out of 10. Thanks to the Chieftain Ascendance, you can get 90% of all elemental resistance and even easily get maximum chaos resistance. All of that combined with over 2000 life regeneration. I only took 1 point out because it needs more investment to be able to face tank physical bosses. Next, we have the most beginner friendly of all, the Arc Totem's Hierophant, also with the Templar class. On this build we use many totems that cast the Arc skill for a fast and safe clear speed. Listing the pros of this build, I would start with how cheap and easy it is to complete your Atlas using this beauty. With almost no investment, you have a powerful, safe and fast character that will be the perfect currency farmer for this and future builds. Now to list the cons, this build doesn't have access to evasion or spell suppression, but don't worry, Totem builds are very safe to play. Another issue is that some players might find this gameplay to be a little tedious and too easy, but as you know, this is just a matter of taste. As for budget, you can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 35 chaos. To comfortably advance to yellow maps, you need to invest around 90 chaos, and for easily completing your Atlas, I recommend investing around 3 divines, but you can totally do it with less. This build needs 3 mandatory unique items, but they are normally very cheap and easy to get. The first one is the Soul Mantle armor that causes Socketed gems to be supported by a level 20 spell totem. This grants us an extra support skill gem. We also need a Kikazaru ring to counter the effect of curses. This is because a side effect of Soul Mantle that will apply a random curse on you whenever a totem dies. Finally, we also need the Self-Flagellation Jewel that grants up to 20% increased damage for each curse on you. Thanks to Soul Mantle, you'll be always with around 9 curses, resulting on 180% increased damage. For clear speed, this build gets 9 out of 10. Arc is an awesome skill that chains through many enemies and easily clear big packs. This build counts with 4 totems casting this amazing skill. The boss damage deserves 9 out of 10. With the right debuffs and all 4 totems summoned, this build can take even big bosses down without any issue. For the survivability, I would also give it 9 out of 10. As a totem build, you always be far from action while your totems do all the work. So, if you know how to mind your position, you can easily complete high tier maps with low grade gear. Above all, this build still counts with high armor and high block chance. Finally, we have this incredibly tanky melee build, the Boneshatter Juggernaut with the Marauder class. This build is perfect for the melee enthusiasts out there. Boneshatter hits enemies so hard that it hurts your own character, accumulating trauma stacks. For each trauma you're going to deal and take more damage. That's why it's important to gather both attack speed and armor to stack many traumas and sustain their damage. To list the pros of this build, I would start with its survivability. Even though you deal damage to yourself, this build has so much armor that you won't feel a thing. Now, because of that, you might think that this build had to sacrifice speed or boss damage, but no, it's still super fast and can kill guardians in just a few seconds. Now, to list the cons, the first thing that comes to mind is that you need to keep an eye on your accuracy. This is because the Keystone precise technique that grants 40% more damage if your accuracy is bigger than your life. As for budget, this build is cheap. You can get it destroying early in-game maps with only around 60 chaos. To comfortably advance to yellow maps, I recommend investing around 120 chaos, and for easily completing your atlas, I recommend investing around 4 divines. For clear speed, I'll give it 9 out of 10. Boneshatter also creates a big pulse of damage when stunning enemies. That means that a single blow can kill an entire pack of monsters. Other than that, you stack a lot of attack speed that causes your leaps land to almost teleport you through the map. The boss damage is also great and deserves 9 out of 10. Using Berserk on bosses causes you to accumulate a lot of trauma stacks and deal huge amounts of damage. For the survivability, this build is surely a 10 out of 10, and I would even like to say 20 out of 10 if I could. This build achieves almost 200,000 armor and over 83% of all elemental resistance. All of that combined with the Juggernaut Ascendancy grants this character over 300,000 effective HP. Yes, it's crazy. And that's it guys, what did you think about those budget builds? Please take a second to tell me in the comments and leave a thumbs up to support the channel. I wish you guys an amazing day, and don't forget to keep building!